Hello, fellow weirdos, and welcome to Horror Through Her Eyes. You've got the sick Taminator and the amateur destroyer here, ready to explore the twisted world of horror and prove that girls love horror just as much as the guys do. It's so good to see your face, Jessica.
I know. Even though you're sick, you're still beautiful, and your
Oh,
hair is really cool.
thank you. I'm going to keep it this color because I've gotten so many compliments on it, so it must look good on me or something.
It does. I love it.
Thank you.
Super fun.
Yeah, it looks really blue on here, but it's like really purple in real life. So, yeah.
Okay, is it like two-toned because it looks like more purple at the top or like
I think this is
pinkish?
where it was really gray, right? Because I had like regular gray growing out, and I think it's
Okay.
kind of like, yeah, it's just kind of how the gray took it versus the like already colored part.
Oh, got it. Well, it looks cool. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice. Well, tonight we're going to be reviewing the anthology Southbound from 2015. It released in the US in 2016. So I kind of get tongue tied when it comes to like what date to use because I know whenever I'm making my yearly like top of the year list, I go based on the US release. So I'm not
Well,
exactly
then
sure how I should categorize this,
you can
but
make that call. We'll go with that then.
all right. Before we get to that, of course, we're going to jump into our haunting headlines. All right. We have professional wrestler, musician, and Terrifier 2 actor Chris Jericho is collaborating with The Walking Dead comic book author Jay Bonansinga. I don't know what. I swear I'm not bad at names, but then whenever we record this podcast, it's like I don't know how to pronounce names anymore. Anyways, on upcoming psychological thriller Self Storage, which this information is coming from Variety. And based on Bonansinga's 2016 novel Self Storage, it centers on a heroin addicted father and his son who accidentally lock themselves inside a self storage unit. Surviving will depend on a battle with demons, both real and manufactured by drug withdrawal. The Walking Dead and The Devil's Rejects actor Lou Temple is set to play the lead character, John Fitzgerald. Bonansinga will direct from his own script, and the film will be executive produced by Jericho's Babyface Assassin Productions. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm not surprised. Alongside Bonansinga and Jeff Siegel for Delirium Tremens, and Jason Cherubini for Dawn's Light. Besides executive producing, Jericho will appear in a key supporting role in Self Storage. No additional character details have been announced as of yet. So, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. I
I've
like
always
Chris
liked Chris
Jericho. So.
Jericho. Yeah, I've always liked him, but I've been hearing some like
Oh no,
things
don't ruin it for
lately
me.
from some of
No.
my podcasting friends who met him like at
Oh no. I
the
don't want that to
Joe
be true.
the Joe Bob live shindig thing. I guess he was kind of a jerk, but I don't know. Hopefully he was having a bad day or something.
Because I mean, of course I don't know him. I think, but usually what draws me to people is because I think they're not like that. So that I guess in my mind he wasn't like that. So that makes me kind of sad. Plus, who is he? Like, he has no right acting irritated with fans or anything. Like, he's a freaking wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, chill out, dude.
Seriously.
I mean,
Yeah.
that, like, seriously, he has everything he has, he owes to his fans. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember I don't remember like in what way he was being jerky, like if he was being rude or like interrupting people or what, you know what I mean? I don't remember. But
Uh,
I'm hoping he was just having a bad day. But you never know. So
yeah.
I grew up liking him though, because of course metal and wrestling and horror. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, minus the metal, same for me.
all right, moving on. Best known to horror fans for playing Dylan in John McTiernan's original action horror classic Predator, acting legend Carl Weathers has passed away
I
this week
know.
at 76. Wow. We are deeply saddened to announce the passing of Carl Weathers, his family said in a statement. He died peacefully in his sleep on Thursday, February 1st of 2024.
Well, that's a blessing at least,
I know.
like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Carl was an exceptional human being who lived an extraordinary life. Through his contributions to film, television, the arts, and sports, he has left an indelible mark and is recognized worldwide and across generations. He was a beloved father, brother, grandfather, partner, and friend.
Mm.
Carl Weathers appeared in more than 70 films and television shows throughout his career, which began all the way back in the early 1970s. Weathers, of course, rose to prominence as Apollo Creed in the first 4 Rocky movies between 76 and 85, which were directly followed by his co-starring role in the classic film that launched the iconic Predator franchise. Carl Weathers is also known for countless other film roles, including Close Encounters of the Third Kind, The Defiant Ones, Action Jackson, Happy Gilmore, and Toy Story 4. I love him in Happy Gilmore. On the small screen, Weathers had recently played Grief Karga on Disney Plus's series The Mandalorian, and he appeared in various shows throughout the decades, including The $6 Million Man, Starsky and Hutch, The Shield, ER, Brothers, and Chicago Justice. Weathers, who was nominated for a Primetime Emmy for his role in The Mandalorian, was also a director, directing episodes of shows including Law and Order and The Mandalorian. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad he got to do it.
Yeah.
Predator co-star Jesse Ventura tweets, "We lost an icon. Carl Weathers was a phenomenal talent, a true professional, and a dear friend. All of my sympathies and love to his family. I loved working with him on Predator and then celebrating that film with him at various conventions in the ensuing years. Thank you, Carl." Oh,
That's so sweet.
yeah, what a bummer.
Yep.
Always got excited whenever I would see him in something.
Yep. Same.
All right, so Neon's mysterious marketing campaign for Long Legs has set the stage for one of the most hotly anticipated trailer reveals of the year. And the wait is finally over this afternoon. Let's see, when did we?
I think this is from Tuesday.
Okay, cool. The upcoming serial killer horror movie marks the return of director Osgood Perkins, of The Black Coat's Daughter and Gretel and Hansel. Nicolas Cage stars alongside Micah Monroe, and Monroe is playing an FBI agent, and Cage is playing a serial killer. Longlegs is said to be in the vein of classic Hollywood psychological thrillers. The first look at the movie doesn't tell us much more about it than we already know, instead conveying an unsettling atmosphere that's loaded up with mysterious visuals. We get several shots of Micah Monroe's character, FBI agent Lee Harker, a glimpse of a book exploring the 9 circles of hell, and even a person being killed from behind with an axe. Whatever's going on here, Longlegs promises to be one of the most talked about horror movies of the year. It's in theaters July 12th. I am definitely excited about this.
Yes.
I'm not reading the rest of this because I don't care.
Okay.
Too much. Okay. Next, The Legend of the Frogman comes to the screen in the upcoming found footage movie, Frogman, which will be unleashed on VOD outlets March 8th, with Rotting Press first releasing the film on VHS. Yes, VHS. On February 9th.
That's tomorrow as we record.
Oh, yes, it is. In Frogman, in the summer of 1999, a 12-year-old named Dallas Kyle captured footage of the mythical Frogman. I'm not familiar with this.
Me either.
Is this like a Mothman situation? But no one believed it was real. 20 years later, Dallas, now an amateur filmmaker struggling to turn his passion into a career, returns to Loveland with friends Amy and Scotty, determined to obtain irrefutable proof that the Frogman exists. But what starts as an innocent documentary soon turns into a Lovecraftian nightmare as Dallas uncovers the horrific secrets hidden beneath Loveland's idyllic surface.
Oh, that sounds good.
Ooh, that does sound good. That sounds super awesome. All right. in case you didn't notice, I put in these next two.
Oh, I didn't.
Nearly a year after the last movie hit theaters, Deadline has brought word that Raimi is moving forward with the next installment in the Evil Dead franchise. The project is being described as a spin-off with indie horror director Sebastian Vanisic, who is the director of that new movie Vermin that's coming out this year. He's attached to co-write and direct the movie, while Raimi and production partner Robert Tappert are producing via their Ghost House Pictures label. No plot details or production start window are revealed at the time of writing. And I got this from Screen Rant. So, yay, more Evil Dead, yay.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Come on, you like the Evil Dead.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay. Another piece of news near and dear to my heart. Legendary manga artist and author Junji Ito has been terrifying readers with his eerie tales for 35 years. Now it's time for him to tell his own story with his memoir, Uncanny: The Origins of Fear, coming this fall. I got this from Fangoria. I'm excited. I'm like constantly reading Junji Ito.
I know. So it's a book. I'm guessing a memoir. It's going to be a book.
Yes. I'm guessing this will be a book, but he normally releases manga, which is like Asian comic books. So that is very exciting. People always make all these funny memes about him and Hayao Miyazaki, who do all the Studio Ghibli movies, like that one that just came out, The Boy and the Heron, because all of the Miyazaki movies are all like whimsical and for kids and really sweet and just like gorgeous. But his personality is like, I'm so depressed. I wish I could die. I'm going to work until I die. And then Junji Ito releases all these crazy, horrifying horror mangas. But he's actually like supposedly really like happy and fun. Like he's so lucky kind of guy. So I'm interested to read his memoir, see where the origins of fear come from. And whenever his mangas come out, there's always a little, thing that he writes in them like, I was just on the bus and I just randomly thought, what if such and such? You know what I mean? And I'm like,
man, I wish I was that talented.
Right, me too. All right, so that's going to do it for our haunting headlines. Next, we're going to get into Fright Bites. Tammy, I'm going to have you go first.
All right, hold on, let me get to mine.
Do it.
Well, having been sick, my first one here is a little bit older. My son and I went and saw ISS in the theater, what would be 2 Sundays ago now. And I see it's already out of the theater, so I'm wondering if maybe it didn't do so well. Brief synopsis from Roger Ebert. Alien famously told us that in space no one can hear you scream. ISS, which takes place on the U.S.-Russia International Space Station, shows us that it may be more terrifying to consider whether in space someone can overhear you whisper. It's an efficient thrill ride running about 90 minutes with every moment used as effectively as possible. There's about a half an hour of setup, like a Jenga tower, with almost every line of dialogue an indicator of a tense or terrifying moment ahead. The last hour is all about dire peril and shifting loyalties, and then, well, we all know what happens to Jenga towers. So even though it's already out of the movie theater, we both thought it was really good. However, I did not think it was great. It almost gets into the action too soon to ever like connect with the characters. However, I do think this idea is terrifying. I'm surprised nobody's kind of done this before.
Yeah.
I don't think it's spoiling, since I think it's in the trailer, but it's about like 3 U.S. and 3 Russian astronauts who are aboard the ISS, the International Space Station, when nuclear war breaks out and all comms are lost. So like I said, I think it's a really great idea here. I thought it would maybe make a better TV series than a movie. However, it did look spectacular on the big screen, almost to a fault, because of like with all the weightlessness and stuff. A lot of times Landon and I both had to like kind of look away from the screen and get our bearings. There's a lot of shaky cam and stuff like that, but it's just, I don't know, they did a really, really good job. Still though, I do recommend it if it interests you to see it in a theater, but like I said, these are my notes from like 2-3 weeks ago, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
at the theaters anymore. So, I mean, it's definitely worth a rental when it does come out. But I'm glad I saw it at the theater. And then
Yeah,
I
I went and
also,
saw it.
oh, oh, you
I went
did?
and saw it too. Yeah. I thought it was really good too. And it's like, it is really horrifying just, because it's like this could actually happen. And it, as a concept, it makes me so sad. Like, I remember when Raina was a little kid, I still have this app. We have this little like star app where you go out and point your phone at like a constellation or a planet and it'll tell you about it.
Oh, that's really
And
cool.
yeah, and it'll alert you when the ISS is gonna fly over by. So we would always like go out and watch the ISS fly overhead. And I told
Oh, that
her
is so
like
cool.
what it was and why it's so cool. So like having this movie just makes me like sad and scared. I'm like, no, it's such a beautiful thing. Togetherness.
I totally agree. And just how, because with my age, I grew up with the Cold War and we were afraid the Russians were going to get us and all that stuff. And just how it's amazing to see how far we've come. And I think, though, I've also lived through all the Challenger accidents. And I think I just, in my mind, I imagine astronauts like just holding their breath, like, okay, if we can just get into orbit, everything will
Mhm.
be okay. But then what are their thoughts once they get up there? They've got, this is what they must be afraid of. Now we've got to
Yeah.
get back. And I just think you must be the brave. I am like enthralled by space, but I think you just
Mhm.
must be the bravest of souls to ever be able to go up there.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. But
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
there's
just like looking out the windows and seeing everything that's going on Earth is just like, oh, so heartbreaking, and it just gets worse and worse, and it's awful. But yeah, I thought it was actually pretty effective and scary, and I liked all the performances too.
oh, I really did too. It felt a little rushed to me. Like I wanted to kind of like connect with the characters a little bit more. I wanted to find out more.
Yeah.
Like it gets right into it right away, which is fine. I mean, it's definitely like more like of an actiony movie kind of like at that point. But I
Hmm.
mean, it still has that kind of like dread and horror and who can I trust and just
Yeah.
how quickly the governments will turn on each other and like what would you do in that situation. But I mean, yeah, I really liked it. I was surprised to see that it was out of theaters already. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
January releases.
Yeah. And then I watched I think it's Primbon, which is a new Indonesian horror film on Netflix. Amidst a mountain climbing trip, Reina goes missing, but miraculously returns home, causing a conflict between her mother's belief in her survival and the superstitious extended family. So I really wanted to like this because the premise sounds right up my alley. It's one of those, somebody comes into the forest and then is like, or goes into the forest, gets lost, and then is what comes back really them. I feel like we've seen that a couple times lately. I had to look up what Primbon is because the movie explains absolutely nothing, yet it kind of like, this is where it falls short, is that it relies on you understanding all about what a primbon is in order to follow the plot. So from what I can
Mhm.
tell, a primbon is like a farmer's almanac, but it's specific to each family. Like each family has one member who has the ability to understand or write the primbon. And because of something in this family's primbon, this happening to Reina on this date was very ominous. Yet we are
Mm.
never told why. And then once she's back, it's very light on the scares, and it didn't need to be. Like I think they could have made this quite terrifying. I
Mm.
did like all the actors, though you wouldn't know any of them. I thought this could go up against a movie like Terrified, which I think is one of the scariest movies ever made, where this girl comes back and then strange things start happening in the village, but it just never quite goes there. And a lot of
Uh,
the rituals and stuff were lost on me simply because I just didn't understand them or why was I supposed to be afraid of that. Um,
yeah.
so I think we talked a little bit of that of some of that from, was it When Evil Lurks? There's a little bit of that, like you kind of are just kind of are expected to know about this ritual or whatever, but I felt like I was kind of understanding it as the movie went along, where this movie just like, I don't know if they never thought they'd get a release in America or what, but they just don't do anything to help you understand what's going on. So it just kind of took me out of it. And then I know it's not horror, but the new season of Ryan Murphy's Feud, Truman Capote and the Swans, I'm loving it. It's absolutely magnificent. And then I'm also finishing up season 2 of From, which I realized I never finished on MGM Plus. I think because I let my subscription run out. And the other day I saw like an ad for it or something, like, man, I gotta finish watching that. So I just ordered the channel, and while I've been sick, that's what I've been catching up on. So that's we went and saw Argyle in the theater, and we both really liked that because we really like the Kingsman movies. So yeah, but yeah,
cute.
But there's some good horror coming out this weekend. Is Lisa Frankenstein and Out of the Darkness. So I'm
excited.
How about you? What you got?
Yeah. Well, I went and saw Godzilla -1 minus color in the theater, which was the new Godzilla movie in black and white. It was very magical. Yeah, it was so cool. And I went with my husband, and we're trying to figure out which one we liked more. And we couldn't really settle on one or the other because like there are certain things about the color version that are really amazing. Like the effects are actually really good. And some of the scenery, especially like all of the scenes where the pilot is flying over the ocean and stuff, like those scenes just look so gorgeous in black and white.
Yeah.
So I can't pick a preference, but I was excited to go see it again and to get to see it in black and white, like old school Godzilla.
Yeah, that's cool.
Made my heart happy. I've been catching up on some. Can you hear my cat?
Yep.
That fucker. He's literally the worst. I'm gonna go. I'll be right back. I'm gonna spray him. No. Go away. I spray you with water. Leave me alone. Go away. No. God. He is the most needy freaking pet. Cats are supposed to be cool because they just do their own thing. Anyways, what was I saying?
You saw Godzilla. You were going to talk about whatever else you were watching next.
Okay, good. So I've been catching up on some found footage blind spots lately with some friends. So I saw Grave Encounters for the first time at like a movie night pizza party thing with some friends. And it wasn't like amazing, but it also wasn't terrible. And I'm really glad I can tick off that box now because that's one of those movies where they always have like pictures cycling on the internet. And I really want to see the second one because I think that one's even more famous for its creepy imagery. But I thought it was really cool, like everything that they could do with, budget-friendly choices. Like I thought that what they were able to do was really effective. So that was really cool. And it came out in 2011.
I was just trying to think. I feel like I saw that like 20 years ago. And my gosh, I mean, it's going on 15.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Wow.
Oh my God. I'm going to get the actual spray bottle and I'm going to spray this cat. Sorry. BRB. Dude. Go. Go. Get out of here. No. I already fed you. Oh my God, this fucking cat. Okay. So I saw Grave Encounters.
Do you see this? You see this? Look at this. Is an antibiotic I have to take.
Oh my God, that's an antibiotic?
Yes.
It's gigantic.
Huge. I don't know.
I feel like the antibiotics I had to take the last time I had diverticulitis were crazy big like that too. And whenever I have to take gigantic pills, I always show my daughter because she's one of those wusses who doesn't know how to swallow pills. She'll take like the smallest pill and be like, I'm like, oh my God, drama queen much. Fucking cat. Why is he meowing? I fed him. I cleaned his cat box. What else does he want from me? Can you still hear him? He's like down the stairs across the house right now. And nobody else is home, so I can't text Raina or Jim and be like, get this fucking cat. Okay. All right, so saw Grave Encounters, and I also watched, what was the other found footage? Oh, I finally watched Hell House LLC, the first one.
You did. What did you think?
I mean, I liked it, and I definitely liked the concept, but I was so confused. Like, I couldn't see what was happening at the end, so I was like, what's happening? And my friend's like, I don't know.
Watch it again someday. Watch it
I
again.
will. Yeah.
I think it took me a couple to like for it to become as beloved as it is now for me.
Yeah. So. Okay. But I was just like, no, I like it. I just don't understand what's happening because I can't see anything. But even just that clown guy walking around was freaky. And of course, it's like really frustrating that nobody believes that one guy. Like, I know he's the like fuck up in the group or whatever, but it's like, okay, you guys have also witnessed the stuff that he's saying. Like, how do you not believe him? So that was kind of frustrating. So I saw that, and I watched that show, The Burning Girls, that Mark Nato was telling us we need to watch. It's really good. It's so good. You have to watch it.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I did. I like binged it in like a day or two.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
All right, because I'm about to need something because I'm almost done with From, so I'll do that next.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm like running out of shows, and then I was like, oh yeah, Mark said The Burning Girls. And I was going to watch it on his Plex, but it was on Roku, so I just watched it on Roku. Probably should just watch it on his Plex, though, because obviously Roku has, like, a bunch of commercials. But it's really cool. It's like a mom and her daughter, and the mom is a vicar, and she's going into this really small town to take over for another vicar who died. And it's just this whole, like, mystery, cover-up, small town, religious stuff, evil religious cover-up things. But like the ending,
sign me up. That sounds good.
Yeah, the ending like got me.
Really? All right, now I'm intrigued. I'll watch it.
Totally took me by surprise. I thought it was just going to be one thing, which was still really good, and then it turned into a whole other thing like at the very end. So I was like, oh my god, how'd they do that? So I would definitely recommend it.
All right, cool.
And that is it. I mean, I think I've seen a few things here and there, but that's all we need to get into for now. So, yay, we did it. Episode is complete.
All right, well, good night now. See you later.
See ya when you're healed. All right, so next we're going to get into our Echoes from the Abyss. So I'm pretty sure we only have comments right now about Southbound because I put out a post asking people what they think of it. And it got very, very good, rave reviews from everybody, I think. I don't think anyone said something bad. So
it's because all of our listeners have impeccable taste. Hello.
Duh.
Joy.
So your buddy Lenny on Facebook said, he said, I really enjoyed this movie and the soundtrack is great too. Not to mention I'm a sucker for anthologies.
And of course he has the soundtrack because I would expect nothing less.
Perfect. And I did include this picture for you because I didn't think that you had been in Facebook recently.
No, I have so much catching up to do. Sorry, everyone.
Oh, I'm sure everybody understands, but I love when our listeners post pictures, and he
Me too.
posted this awesome picture of his album of the soundtrack, and it looks really cool.
It does.
Nice album art too.
Mm.
And then Tim Walker said, my favorite recent horror anthology. It has a real Twilight Zone feel. The only segment I don't like is the one with the guy looking for his sister, but otherwise it's outstanding.
Every anthology always has that one, like,
yeah.
It's all good except for,
And you know what? We rank these. So
I saw you ranked, so I ranked too.
Okay, yeah. So, oh, how funny. We're like a little backwards on our
I saw
ranking.
that. Yeah.
So the one he's referring to is Jailbreak, and I have that as my least favorite segment as well, but I still liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the
I
whole idea behind it of like him going to save his sister. He's not supposed to be there, and she actually likes being there. She's like, I'm made for hell, man, you know?
Yep.
Which why not? That can be a take, you know what I mean? Like someone could feel that way, I feel, you know?
I do. It's hard to accept, and I think a lot of people has it like does it even occur to you that some people would choose hell? But I think some people see where we are right now as kind of hellish. So, but I do believe there are probably people that would think just it's too hard to try to live this way. I'm just going to be who
Mhm.
I am and embrace who I am and live happily for once, you know.
Yeah.
And whatever that darkness is, I think we all have a little bit of darkness inside us, and some people have really bad darkness, say like a Jeffrey Dahmer or something. But what if he could go live somewhere where all of his like desires and all that would be like embraced? And
Yeah.
that's kind of like what this was. And I think I agree. It's kind of neat. It's also a little hard to accept, you know? I mean, I would probably be like I'm not close to my sibling, but I mean, imagine if I was like really close to my brother and I knew he was somewhere where I could possibly go reach him. Who knows? You might try to do that, you know,
Yeah.
and at your own peril, obviously. So,
Yeah. So I obviously agree, but I don't think it's bad. It was just my lowest of them, but I like all of them.
see, I think that one, I it's not my favorite, but I think there's an idea that could almost be like a movie on its own. It's like I want to
Mhm.
know more about these people and what is it about them, you know? Like because you can
Totally.
just tell from when it starts, like, oh yeah, these people are off. What's going on, you know? And
I
I
know
know
they
I
seem
don't.
fun. I
Yeah,
want to hang out with them.
I want to go to that bar, right?
Right. Get tattoos from the
Yeah.
sister and stuff. Heck yeah. All right. Michael Watkins said that he appreciated it after a second viewing, which I would like more elaboration on.
Yeah,
So,
Michael, what does that mean? Okay, yes, you need to elaborate on that. You didn't like it after the first one?
right. Yeah. And I wonder if it's one of those things where, like, some of the graphics are a little iffy, you know, especially with the like wannabe Dementors.
See,
Um,
it is in my notes. Jessica was kind enough to do her notes because I've been ill. But in my original set of notes, I think that's some of the best looking CGI monsters I've ever seen.
oh, really? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think it's that bad, to be honest, especially because they're usually in the distance. But it looks a little. It kind of takes you out a little bit. I feel like.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Note the time and spray my cat again. Dude, go. Don't understand. Been super chill all day. Okay. All right. But yeah, and I also wonder too if maybe he was just like trying to pick up on like what the theme is at first, you know what I mean? And I think once you watch it a second time, it's a lot more obvious, but the first time you're just kind of trying to like piece things together.
Yes. This is almost a movie that like demands a second watch. Anybody who says they totally got it the first time, I say you are a liar.
I mean, I feel like the cover and the title might help if you're like paying enough attention. I'm not
Oh,
somebody who pays attention to
yeah.
things like that generally until later, and then I'm like, oh, it's called Southbound, and
Yeah.
there's upside down star on the cover or whatever. But yeah, I'm sure some people piece it together during, but still, I feel like you would have to watch a couple segments and be like, okay, I see what's going on here. Because
Yeah.
it's just kind of weird, you know, it just comes off as kind of weird at first and just like, what's real and what isn't real. And then you start to put it together.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's why too. But yeah, Michael, get back to us and let us know. Ryan Bratton said, this one was a surprise for me. I really liked it, and I thought that the wraparound story was pretty solid. One of the very anthology style movies that I like. Let's see, one of the, he probably didn't mean it's probably a typo or something, but one of the anthology style movies that I like all the stories. So
Probably was going to say like maybe one of the very few where he likes all the stories.
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, which I totally agree with too.
Yeah.
Because like we were saying, there's usually at least one.
Yep.
Like, oh, it was almost a home run. All right, our buddy Rodney Wilder Jr. wrote in on this one, and he said that he really enjoyed this one. I haven't watched it for a handful of years, but I remember being pleasantly surprised by it when I first watched it on a whim some years back. Some really interesting stories and all tied together in a pretty cool way. Playing with a lot of subtle to shit hitting the fan cosmic horror.
Yeah.
Let's see, give me that atmosphere and content, and in a horror anthology to boot, I'm a happy camper.
Me too, Rodney.
Yes. He always puts things perfectly.
Yes.
And then on Instagram, we got the Ram Man 91 who said, this is excellent. One of my favorites. So.
None of the ladies, huh?
Nope, no ladies for Southbound.
Oh, ladies. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder what that's about.
Ladies.
Interested in statistics and demographics and stuff. Are women less likely to watch anthologies or
Not this woman. I don't know. I love anthologies.
Definitely not me. Yeah. We are, odd. So I don't know if we can be counted in this. Yeah. Weirdos.
I'm proud of it.
And that is going to conclude our Echoes from the Abyss. So without further ado, we can get into our review of Southbound. So our podcast is a spoiler-filled podcast, and this is your warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
All right, so Southbound is an anthology from 2015 or 2016, depending on your preference, which is rated R and runs at 1 hour and 29 minutes. 5 interlocking tales of terror follow the fates of a group of weary travelers who confront their worst nightmares and darkest secrets over one long night in a desolate stretch of desert highway.
On a dark desert highway.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's all the singing I'll be doing. Do you think if you just glare at the door, that's going to work? Did it work?
Oh, wait, maybe it did. You felt it. Okay. Everybody, I'm so sorry for my cat being loud and annoying tonight. I don't know what's wrong with him.
He's our guest star. They're just going to have to deal with it.
It might be because my dogs are in their crates. I didn't want to just leave them running loose since no one else is here. And he usually plays with the dogs because he's a weird ass cat. So maybe that's why he's like, I don't have anybody to play with. Come play with me. Okay.
And my mom shut the door. I'm all alone.
Yes, I will try and cut out as much cat as I can, but I apologize in advance because I know there will still be some cat lingering in the background. All right, so segments, The Way Out and The Way In are both directed by Radio Silence, and those are the wraparound segments. Those are cool because it's like a wraparound and at the same time its own thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it feels pretty special.
Yep.
And of course, Radio Silence has come up pretty frequently because they do all the VHSs and they worked on the last Scream movie and they've been getting out there and doing stuff. So they're getting bigger and bigger. And then the segment Siren is directed by Roxanne Benjamin, who directed There's Something Wrong with the Children. Was that last year or the year before? I think last year.
Last year.
So I
because
thought that Jason Blum directed it. Maybe they co-directed it. I didn't look that deeply into it. I just saw the credit and put it in, but maybe I'm wrong. And then the segment "The Accident" was directed by David Bruckner, who of course did The Night House and The Ritual. So love us some Bruckner. And then Jailbreak was directed by Patrick Horvath, who's mostly a writer. So he didn't really have any directing credits that I could mention that anyone would know. And now to get into the actual movie, we start with the segment "The Way Out," which opens with two bloodied men driving down a highway in the desert from night into the early morning. The passenger looks at a blood-spattered photo of a young blonde girl. And the passenger looks over to see some sort of, I put budget Dementor from Harry Potter. Sorry. Like I
so
said, it's actually not the worst.
everybody, this was my pick, but Jessica was sweet enough to do the outline. So my version of all this would obviously be slightly different.
I think that's the only dissenting thing that I put, but it was just because it was like reminiscent of a Dementor, and obviously,
it is, yeah.
If someone does something that looks like a Dementor, it's not going to look as good as it does in Harry Potter, which is like a huge budget thing. You know what I mean? So I apologize. I wasn't trying to be rude.
Nope, that's
I
fine.
thought it was funny.
I just feel like the exact opposite of you. I've always thought they looked really good.
I actually really like the creature design. Like when we get a better look at them later on and we see kind of all the different layers to them and how they like open up and expose the skull and their weird little tendril things coming out of the bottom. I really like the creature design. So it's really not that bad. The driver notices that the passenger is looking over and asks him what's up. And the passenger just replies, "Oh, nothing." And they continue to drive until they come to a gas station later in the day. Looks like it's probably like late morning or noon by the time that they get there because it's a lot brighter out. And when they enter the gas station to go use the restroom, because they're going to clean up all the blood that's all over them and change their clothes, the woman working the counter tells the man, who was the driver, that the bathroom is for customers only. And the girl at the counter's name, her name tag reads Sutter. Of course, Night of the Living Dead is playing on the crappy old tiny square TV next to the counter. That's like one of those little boxes you have to check off. The passenger has already gone into the bathroom and washed off his face, and he sits down at one of the tables. The driver tells Sutter that he'll buy $20 of gas. Afterwards, he goes into the bathroom to wash off his face and change his clothes. But one of the Dementors is in the stall behind him. I don't know what to refer. Do you want me to use a different term?
No, I think that's kind of like what they are. I don't know. Nope, it's a good a name as any. I don't know what else they would be.
Yeah, floating skeleton guy is in the stall behind him. The driver runs out of the bathroom and tells his passenger, whose name is Mitch, that they got to go now. They try to drive away, but they just keep pulling back up to the gas station every time. And Sutter's just out there waiting outside by the pump, smoking. And the driver's like, "What the fuck?" And then he just keeps trying to drive away, but they just keep pulling up to this gas station. And we find out that the driver's name is Jack, and he says that there has to be a way out. His friend Mitch laments, "What if there isn't?" And Jack pulls over, Mitch gets out, and they have a conversation that doesn't yet make sense to us. Jack says that they came here for him, Mitch, and Catherine, and that he needs to hold it together so they can get out. Mitch basically tells Jack to get out and that he's not expecting him to stay behind, but that he's done running. They notice a floaty skeleton guy not too far off in the distance, and Mitch says that they've come to collect and that they, Jack and Mitch, fucked up. Jack tells Mitch that he's crazy and gets back in his truck. But before he can drive off, the Dementor very quickly flies over to his truck and pulls him out and proceeds to shove his skeletal arm down Jack's throat, ripping open his jaw.
The picture behind me, for those of you on YouTube, yeah.
And that makeup looked really good on Jack. And like the way his eyes looked and the way his mouth looked after it got torn open was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the Dementor now looks more like a skeleton with skeletal wings and is sort of hooded, but not with fabric or a robe like an actual Dementor. It can kind of loosen up to reveal more of the skeleton beneath. And it's floating and it has weird skeletal tendrils beneath its figure. And the creature is a little cheesy. You know, there is CGI, but it's not the worst. Jack's special effects makeup looks pretty awesome, though, which I had just said. And Jack's eyes turn white, and he falls dead as soon as the skeleton creature pulls his arm out of Jack's throat. The creature doesn't kill Mitch, but leads him to a nearby hotel. Mitch walks into one of the rooms and sees Catherine, the little girl from the photo earlier, presumably his daughter. He calls out to her, but she runs around, and the room becomes some sort of strange mental labyrinth, fading and changing when he tries to chase after Catherine. We, the viewers, are pulled out of the room and see a maid of the hotel hanging a "Do Not Disturb" placard on the knob of the hotel room. We don't see her face. So that is our first segment. Was there anything else that you wanted to add or note?
I think, I mean, on your first watch, you're not going to get this, but I think what you're seeing is Jack's version of hell, where he's constantly chasing his daughter, yet he can just never quite catch her.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we later find out what happened to her. So I think, and we also find out what he did to probably get himself landed in hell. But I believe, I mean, now that we know what happened to his daughter, his existence on Earth has probably been pretty hellish ever since that happened. And he then goes on to do something and I think lands him here in like this never ending cycle of just living that same trauma over and over again. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And he probably in his own mind felt like I should have saved her if I just could have gotten to her, or, that's probably what he wrestles. Like, I'm the dad and I should have saved her and I didn't. And, and he's just like, now he never will be able to either. So, yeah. It's
right.
Sad.
Yeah, that is interesting because later on when we start to figure out what's going on and that these people are in hell, it makes me wonder, why did the Dementor kill Jack but lead Mitch into the hotel room to like live out his hell? Is it because of like, I don't know, difference in sin? Is it because he was the one who wanted to do it, like move forward with the action and Jack was just being his homeboy? Or I don't know.
I mean, I guess maybe it could also feed into his guilt, like what happened to his friend now, because his friend came to help him, or else he wouldn't even have been in that situation. So maybe just because it's more of his own personal hell, it's like, oh my God, now my best friend was killed because of me and I couldn't protect him either. I'm like good for nothing. And now he's forced to just, I mean, how many times this could be their 100th, their 500th time that they've gone through this. For all we know, it just keeps happening over and over. So, I mean, is this as far as the story plays out? Is he keep living the same day, the same 24 hours over? And I don't know how much of the story he relives or how much, if any, but the way that this movie starts and ends, it seems like it's all starting all over again. So does he have to go through seeing his, I mean, I know I'm not a religious person or anything, but I think there's some kind of belief like that you do things over and over till you get it right. Like that's what purgatory is, or I don't know, is that what he's supposed to be doing? Is he still making these same bad choices? Does he have no choice when you relive this day over and over? Like, is there an opportunity to make different choices and he's not making them? I'm not really sure. I'm also like digging really deeply. I don't think think you can just watch this and not have to dig that deeply, but I don't know. I think is just everything that's happening in this cycle is just adding to what would be his own personal hell, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a really cool segment to start the movie with because right off the bat, it's like, what the hell is going on? kind of questioning like what's real and what's not. And then we finally get to a point where like, okay, this isn't in, the real world as we know it. And we get some cool death, gore, and then just little hints of like where we're at. And
yeah, too. And I think the fact that Jack, when he first sees the Dementor, and when Jack first sees the Dementor and Mitch asks him, he sees it out the window, and Mitch asks him like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing." I remember thinking, why aren't you saying anything? But having watched it a couple times, I think they both know that they're stuck, or they're starting to understand that they're just stuck in this cycle. So it's not like they're not even terrifying them anymore. Like they know what's going to play out. Because I just thought it was really weird. Like, why are they not more scared of these dementor things? Like I'd be freaking shitting my pants,
Yeah.
But I think they might just be starting to realize that they're stuck in a loop.
Yeah, I think you're right because, they keep saying, Jack keeps saying, like, we got to get out. Like, there's got to be a way out. So I think that they already know that they're in hell, but they're thinking they're still like have hope that they can find a way out.
But it seems like the waitress or like the counter girl seems like she realizes that that's why she, when she's just out there smoking and looking real bored, either this is like a throughway in hell that a lot of people go through, or she's like, she knows that these guys are stuck in a loop. That's why she's like, hey, like she's not even like phased when they pull up like the third or the fourth time. So I don't know if she's just part of their loop, or is this motel, because we see this motel gas station a couple times. Is this just like some sort of a way station to hell or through hell? Because it plays into all the stories. So I don't know, but I don't know if the waitress is like part of it, or if she just has seen Mitch and Jack so many times, it's just like, here we go again, But I think she understands she's in a loop. And she herself looks very like she stopped taking care of herself a long time ago. Just like she's just kind of given up.
Totally.
That it almost seems like the people in that diner, gas station, whatever, realize like, yeah, they're the ones that have kind of like been through this, and they're like, yeah, there's no way out, so we're just going to sit here and have coffee and smoke cigarettes because
right,
and these guys,
that doesn't sound terrible.
Yeah. They'll figure it out eventually.
Drink coffee and smoke cigarettes all day. That sounds awesome. One thing that I didn't make note of in any of the notes is that in every segment, everyone's listening to the same radio station. And I totally forgot to do this, but I was going to go back and just like write out what he's saying in each segment, because I'm sure it pertains to that specific story. You know what I mean? Just like a teacher lecturing kids on a specific book, and it always has a relation to whatever whatever the movie's about. But I didn't do that. But I'm sure that that's what's going on with that radio station.
He's almost like, that's almost like a part 6, because he's almost like the through story, really. Because, he, pardon me, I can't think of what, he almost sounds like an evangelist or a preacher mixed with a DJ, but he's kind of seems to be telling like, these are tales of what can happen to you if you do bad. You know what I mean? I can't think of what he says right now, but he seems to be telling a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally. All right. So that was our first segment. And then we get into the next segment, which is called Siren. Oh my God. Writing down so many timestamps. You done? He went away before I could spray him. All right. And then we get into the segment Siren. In a nearby hotel room, we see a brunette girl. This is the same hotel, so it kind of all just moves together. We kind of follow the maid out. And then in one of the nearby rooms, we see a brunette who looks like she's probably in her mid-20s. pokes her head out of the hotel room, and she's soon accompanied by a friend who has dirty blonde hair. Come on. Go ahead, come here. Meow one more time, motherfucker. No. 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 If you come in here, you have to be cool. See, it's boring in here. The brunette girl announces that they have to go because it's already 1 p.m. We then see a group of 3 girls total driving in a funky green hippie VW bus, which is the dream. And there's a photo of the 3 girls and one other girl on the underside of the driver's side visor. The driver, who's the brunette that we were first introduced to, kisses her finger and places it on the face of the girl in the photo who is not present in the van. After driving a little through the desert, the girls get a flat tire and have to pull over. The 3rd girl in the van has really dark brown hair, like almost black. And then the girls just drink some beer while they wait for somebody to drive by. They're just totally chilling. They seemed like they were in a hurry, but maybe it was just checkout time.
No, they're in a band and they have a gig that they have to get to the next town for.
That's true. But now they're just hanging out, drinking beer, and they're not making a big. I mean, I guess what can you do when you're in that situation?
Yeah.
Might as well not stress over it. So they're just hanging out, and then a car eventually approaches and pulls over. It's a man and a woman in their late 40s, early 50s, and they offer the girls a ride. And they're kind of in like what era is that? Like 50s clothes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and we're assuming that they're probably husband and wife. They seem like clinically happy and nice, like to a scary degree.
Yeah. Yes.
Very like Pleasantville.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes.
And the first girl that we had met, the lighter brunette, she says that they're good and they don't need a ride. And then the man says that there's a car repair shop south, but it's a bit of ways. And Pete, the owner, he won't be in until tomorrow. What we're assuming our main girl, we think is our main character probably, she says, it's okay. They're used to sleeping in the van. The man then mentions that their neighbors drive a similar van and they probably have a spare tire that they can give the girls and help them replace the tire on their van as well. Again, the brunette declines in a totally reasonable and polite way. And then the couple begin to drive off when the dirty blonde girl all of a sudden calls out for them to come back. She says that they don't know where they are and she'd rather take her chances with the seemingly kind older couple than some pervy guys. Which, I guess I can't really blame her for that. But these people are kind of giving off like a weird vibe.
Yes. Yeah.
The girls ride off with the couple after all. And though it's clear that the main girl is uncomfortable with this decision, she goes along with it. And the couple and the girls make small chat in the car. The girls notice a bear trap in the trunk. It's in the trunk because it's a hatchback. And when they ask about it, the wife says that it's broken, and the husband says that it's a phony. The girls also reveal that they're bandmates. They soon arrive at the house of the couple, and after they enter the house, we see the wife carefully and slowly looking out the window, very suspiciously, before closing the curtains. We're like, okay, definitely got some weirdos on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
The wife takes the girls to their guest room and shows them the guest beds and bathroom. In the room, the wife says that the Kensingtons are coming over for supper, and she's glad to have so much company over for dinner. The wife also says that she's sorry about Alex. which concerns the main girl. And I put, Alex must be their missing friend.
That is correct.
Yeah. The other girls didn't hear the wife say this, though. And when the main girl asks her to repeat herself, the wife just says, I'm going to go make supper. And she walks out to do so. The other two girls joke about how nasty the couple probably gets in the bedroom, while the main girl sits in disbelief, wondering if she's hearing things. At supper, we meet the Kensingtons, which are another older couple, and their two grown twin sons, who are very weird.
Yeah.
And they say they were adopted under sad circumstances. The main girl reveals that she doesn't eat meat, and the other two girls seem like they're also vegetarians, but they're not opposed to eating meat when it's the only option. The Kensingtons make a rude comment about how not everyone has the luxury to not eat meat. I just put that it was rude because I'm a vegan, so I was personally offended by her comment. Although she's technically right. Not everybody does have that luxury. Later in the room, the blonde starts saying all this stuff to the main girl about how it was her fault that Alex died because she went to have sex with some random guy and let Alex leave. When the main girl defends herself, the blonde starts laughing and tells her that she should see her face. Soon after, the blonde begins to throw up black sludge, and the main girl goes to get her something from the bathroom, where she finds their other friend also throwing up black sludge into the toilet. When the main girl runs back out of the dining room, or back out to the dining room where everyone is still hanging out after dinner, she worriedly tells them that her friends are throwing up and that she needs their help. They respond that Dale, the man from the couple who owns this house, so he's the husband that I've been referring to, Dale, will give them medicine. They all make some strange comments to one another about how it must be the meat and that it's always the worst the first time that you have it. The wife has the two sick girls changed into some white pajamas, and Dale gives them medicine that resembles milk. And the girls act like Stepford wives and thank him and tell the main girl, who we now learn is Sadie, that they're staying and that they're going to bed. And they're acting all very calm, very docile, very strange. And our main character is, very worried, very concerned, like, what's going on here? So Sadie says that they need to leave because there's something weird going on and that she'll pay for their hotel room herself. The darker-haired friend says that she misses Alex and she wishes that Sadie had been a better friend to Alex. Later that night, Sadie looks out the window and sees her friends walking outside toward the two Kensington sons. She goes out to investigate and follows her friends to a campfire where the Kensingtons and the main couple and her two friends all stand around a fire, and they're all wearing cloaks while performing some weird cult ritual, and their eyes are all white or shiny, something to that effect. And they do something to the friends with the ritual, and they rub like paint or mud or something into specific shapes. And after that, their eyes become completely black for a moment before becoming white, like the couple's. And then the paint quickly gets absorbed into their skin, and they appear possessed. Sadie, who's hiding in some bushes, accidentally steps into a bear trap, and she gains attention from the group, who are all around the campfire. So they all look in her direction, and her two friends come over to investigate. She has to fight them off with a pocket knife before she's able to use the knife to also help her pry open the bear trap, which is apparently not a phony. And she runs away into the highway, where she's suddenly hit by a car. And so that is the segment Siren. Did you have any additional notes or takeaways from this segment?
So I think, so now Sadie's in hell for being a bad friend to Alex. Why do you think the other two, do you think we just don't know the whole story, or why do you think the other two friends are being punished also?
I don't know if they're actually there or if they're just like figments of Sadie's imagination.
Okay. So
that's kind of what I've, like how Catherine wasn't really Catherine in the first segment, I think it's probably more along those lines.
So the movie that we see playing on people's TVs and stuff throughout all this is Carnival of Souls. You called
Mm-hmm.
it did you say it was Night of the Living Dead at first? But it is Carnival of Souls, and it's
Oh,
kind of
was it
like,
Carnival of Souls in the
yeah,
first one too?
yeah.
Oh, I'm dumb.
No, that's all right. But
We
I
even
think
covered Carnival of Souls.
I
I'm
know
so dumb.
it's kind of following that same story where she's going into hell, or she's in kind of hell, and sometimes she's in reality and sometimes she's not. So
Right.
I think that's kind of like why that movie was chosen, because this kind of seems to like be that same kind of idea, just fleshed out with a bunch of characters. So yeah, if you think about it that way, then yeah, Tammy, that doesn't mean that these people are necessary. Okay, I get it now. Like, I was just wondering, like, what did those two friends do? Like, why are they? But yeah, maybe they're just part of Sadie's hell. They're not really there.
I
Like when
think so,
she,
especially because they become kind of like possessed and Stepfordy, you know, and Sadie
yeah,
doesn't. So it kind of makes
yeah.
me think that it's all like in her mind.
Okay, well, that makes more sense then.
Yeah, maybe she never actually left that hotel room. It's all just happening in there. But yeah, I feel like this segment is probably like the weirdest and kind of like the hardest one to actually follow.
You definitely need the whole movie to understand this segment, I believe.
Yeah.
Even though it is like one of my favorite, my second favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is another argument for this movie just needs more than one watch, because I do think otherwise you're like, huh? And why is this happening to these people? And because almost Sadie almost seems like the good person in this segment, if you don't know the whole story till you start
Right.
learning, like she seems to be the one like that doesn't want to go with these weird people and kind of has a level head, and is trying to protect her friends and wants everyone to be safe, and then you kind of like start hearing more of the story and what happened. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But yeah, you need the whole movie, I think, to understand these individual things.
Do you understand why it's called Siren?
No, when I think of siren, I either think of like a mermaid, like that kind of a siren that like lures sailors to their death, or else like a police siren.
Mm-hmm.
I can't figure out. I was actually thinking about that. I don't know here why it's called siren.
Yeah, because like no one's really luring. Hmm.
No, because the you can't say the couple lured them because they were willing to drive away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am not sure on that one.
Well, and also like Sadie never bought into their whole act anyway. So I don't know. Interesting. Okay. Well, so that ends the siren segment and it immediately goes into the accident, where we're with a man who's driving down the highway and he's speaking to his wife over the phone. And she sent him some photos of her in a pink dress and a black dress for him so he can help her pick what she's going to wear tonight. He looks down at the photos and he tells her that he likes the pink dress. Okay. Jim got home, so maybe he'll go annoy him now. You want to go see Dad? Go. Go see Dad. Go on. Go on. Go see what's going on. It's going to be the most annoying episode to edit. All right. So he looks down at the photos and he tells her that he likes the pink dress, even though he knows that she likes the black one. When he looks back up from his phone, he sees Sadie screaming in the middle of the road for a split second before he hits her. And her body lies an absolute mangled mess in the road behind his car. And he hangs up with his wife, Claire, to investigate. And he has to look away in terror after seeing the damage that he's done. This man's name is Lucas, we come to find out. And his wife, Claire, tries to call him back, and he says that he has to leave, and he apologizes. And he's clearly kind of in shock. He's like, you could tell he's like trying to think, what do I do? But also can't think. And she looks, the gore effects on this are really, really good and effective. So he hangs up with Claire, and then he quickly calls 911. And the operator is unable to send assistance because she doesn't know where he is. When she asks for his location, he says that he's in the middle of nowhere and he can't see which town is up ahead a few miles because his GPS isn't working. The operator brings an EMT onto the phone to help Lucas. And she tells him that he's going to have to pick up this girl and bring her into the town that's up ahead since they don't know his location, which he thinks is weird. Especially because they knew his name when he hadn't told them what it was. But they say that it's because they have his cell info, and he just kind of goes along with it. And I feel like this feels very like dream logic-y.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So many of my dreams are not quite like this, but I'm just trying to get somewhere and I can't, or I'm trying to find where I am and I can't, or I'm trying to dial my phone and I can't. It's like, just sometimes, like, if I really have to go to the bathroom in real life, I'll be looking for a bathroom and I can't find one.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Totally. And also just the little things like them knowing his name and him being like, wait, what? And then you come up with some dream logic stuff in the back of your head somewhere where it's like, we just have your cell information. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And you just like go along with things in your dreams that you would never just go along with in real life,
Yes.
So he goes to pick up Sadie, and he does bring her to the hospital in the nearby town. And watching him just trying to pick her up and put her in his car. And it's terrible because she's so messed up, but it's like, this is the only chance you have to maybe save her, even though it also seems like the last thing you should be doing is touching her and picking her up.
Yeah, that would be your first clue. And this is also like made me, because I'm eventually going to ask you, why do you think he's here? But maybe this is one of, I had mentioned before that I've heard that purgatory is you getting chances to make different decisions. Does he make the right decision and stop this time? And that's why he's let go? Does he decide to help this time? And because I'm not quite sure I otherwise totally understand why he's here, unless he's just supposed to be part of Sadie's story. But it also seems like he's going through some sort of challenge or something, so I just wonder if maybe this is a time when someone made the right decision and does decide to help. Maybe in the other cycles of this, he hits her and just drives away. So
that's what I assumed it was, especially because in that moment when he first gets out of the car and he's just like totally in shock, you kind of wonder like, well, what is he about to do? Is he going to drive off? Is he going to go help her? So I did think that probably in real life. And then I wondered too, if in real life he had hit Alex, like, was he actually involved with this same group of girls, and Sadie's, hell like ends in her getting hit by the car because she's like thinking about Alex. So I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but that would make, because other than that, I was thinking what his worst offense is, he was talking on the cell phone while driving. Like, that's the worst thing we ever see him do until we see him hit somebody. So I'm like, no, he can't be being punished for talking on the cell phone unless it's you talking on the cell phone and you kill someone. So that's pretty bad. But I don't know. That didn't feel like his reason to me, but I'm not 100% sure. So.
Right. And even if he, didn't intend to murder somebody, he still killed somebody because he was doing something dumb that he shouldn't have been doing. Yes. He could still probably go to hell for just that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though he seems like a pretty reasonable guy, other than that. And him and his wife were really cute on the phone together, and she should go to hell because she was sending him pictures and she knew he was driving.
Yeah, there you go.
Enabler.
Straight up.
So he drives into town, and right away, there's no oncoming traffic. There's no people in this town. He's driving around. It's clearly very strange. It's very desolate. Um, and he's still on the phone with the like police officer operator, and then also the EMT, and they're kind of guiding him and telling him what to do. And sorry about that. He finds a hospital finally after driving around a little bit. And he gets her into the hospital, and there's still nobody around. And the hospital is pretty creepy looking. It's kind of dark and like out of order. And he is carrying Sadie around, trying to talk on the phone. And then he finally finds a bed in one of the hospital rooms to lay her down on because she's like falling apart as he's carrying her around. And in fact, after he lays her down, the bottom of her broken leg just begins to separate at the knee. And then the operator and EMT bring on another third party who's apparently a surgeon. And they walk him through the process of sticking a tube down Sadie's throat to provide oxygen, and she's now choking on her blood. So after he compresses her lung as directed, Sadie does end up dying with Lucas's fingers still in her mouth for manually holding her throat open. And we see him just totally panicked, but like doing whatever he needs to do. He's following all the orders. He's trying so hard to save this girl. He's all by himself and he's like freaking out. And then all of a sudden, all of the third-party voices on the other end of the line start to laugh at him. And we're like, okay, this is friggin' messed up. And they tell him that he has to face what he did. And he claims it isn't his fault because she ran out into the middle of the road in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. And then the voices agree with him and they assure him that he can go home to his wife. Lucas cleans up and he leaves. And so, I mean, I don't know. Is he just also stuck in this loop where he needs to actually face what he did? You know what I mean? Because he doesn't really. He claims it's not his fault.
No, and I mean, we don't ever, I mean, maybe part of his hell is he thinks he gets to leave, but maybe this just starts all over again for him too. Maybe I'm just assuming that he got let go. We don't ever really see, we don't see him rejoin reality or whatever. But yeah, maybe that's just it. I don't know what he did to get him. Maybe we don't ever really know what he truly did, unless he really did hit someone in real life and he's being punished for it. But this story is just not as clear cut as some of the other ones, I guess. And if he is let go, why? Because he tried, because he made the right decision this time. I'm not, I'm assuming that's why, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
So,
yeah, I guess we'll never actually know. But I love this segment. It's just like the most like anxiety-inducing one.
Yes.
Like real life kind of anxiety.
Yes. I mean, this one is truly horrific.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for just some grossness and terror, just how you would feel if you were him, and how I don't know. I mean, we have to assume he did something to deserve it, but still, it's like, oh my God.
I know. And then it kind of makes me think about Siren again, because, okay, maybe Sadie left her friend to go hook up with some guy, but that wouldn't actually make her responsible for her friend's death. You know what I mean? Like, I know we're not getting the whole story, and maybe there's something that we're not figuring out that we should, but it seems like, why is she in hell? I don't really understand.
Unless maybe it's just there's an idea that just bad people are bad people, but Sadie didn't seem like that bad of a person. I mean, if she's going to hell, I'm probably going to hell because I'm sure I made plenty of stupid, like decisions like that when I used to go out when I was younger and stuff like that,
Right.
like it just seems pretty harsh because she seems like a pretty good girl otherwise.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, food for thought. That's something I do like about this movie, though, is just
Yeah.
it gets you to start thinking and trying to like kind of put in the missing puzzle pieces yourself, which is just fun sometimes,
Yep.
even if
Agreed.
you never really figure out what's going on. And so now we lead into Jailbreak. Um, and as Lucas is driving off onto the highway, we close in on a woman at a payphone next to the highway. And after she hangs up, she goes into a bar. And I'm guessing that this is like adjacent to the hotel that we've been visiting, with the other people. I'm
Well,
not
first of all, we
entirely
find
sure.
out that she was the voice that was pretending to be the EMT. So there's
Oh
that
my God, I
connection.
totally missed that.
Yeah. So she is hanging. She says something. I don't know. I don't remember what she says, but she's the voice
Mm.
that's the EMT. And then the next story after this one, it seems like this is, um, it almost seems like the gas station slash cafe slash motel are all, I think we're just seeing it different times of the day because sometimes we're seeing it at night and I think it's just lit up a little bit differently. But I
Yeah.
think this eating place is the same eating place that we started off at. That's what I thought that the family goes into because
Mm.
we see at the end of this one, we see the teenage girl from the next one passes someone from this story. So I'm guessing the bar, I think it's all like kind of just like right there together is
Yeah.
what I assumed.
That's the impression that I got too.
Like just some little dead town in the, but I mean, like, it must be a town because I personally believe that hospital was there too, but the hospital's not like just right there with the hotel in the, I think it's kind of like a dead town kind of a
Mm.
place.
If that dead town is even actually there, because that might also just be in Lucas's head. Might be
Yeah.
just his own personal little hell.
Oh, it's too much to think about.
I can't believe that I didn't pick up on the fact that this woman was the fake EMT. But it
Yes,
makes sense because she goes into this bar, and we soon find out that all of the people in this bar are all like demons. So she's a demon who's messing with Lucas. And when she approaches the bar, the bartender tells her that she has to go shut the door before he serves her. The bar, everybody in here is super cheeky with each other. It's really fun. The bartender says that he knows she didn't shut it all the way because he heard it not close all the way. And a close by patron chimes in and jokes about how the woman is just lazy and clearly didn't shut it all the way. The woman offers to buy him a beer if he does it for her. He's just about to oblige and earn his beer when a man enters with a shotgun. The big man, who was the patron, who was about to shut the door, he assures this gun wielding man that he thinks that he stumbled into some shitty bar like any other that he can rob, but that he would be sorely mistaken.
So do
The
you
gun,
think the door, like, if had she shut the door all the way, does that keep randos from coming in?
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
he got lucky that she didn't shut the door all the way. So it's crazy.
So do
But
you think that that's actually the door to hell then? Because that's how he
mhm.
gets in because he's not supposed to be there, right? He's
Yeah,
not
I think
supposed to find
so.
his sister.
Right.
So that's like the portal or the doorway or whatever.
Yes, I definitely think that. And we know that he's been trying to get in for a really long time, and he's been trying to find a sister,
Yep.
and that he's somehow figured out that she's in hell. And I think he got lucky that she didn't shut the door all the way. And that's why they're making a big deal about it too, or the bartender, anyways. Um, the gunman says that he's not there to rob it. He's looking for his sister Jessie, and he holds up a photo to the man. The bartender admits that he's seen her, and when the gunman asks where she is, the bartender lets him know, nowhere where you can go. And then the big man motions towards the gunman, and he shreds his back with his demon nails, but his arm gets blown off in return. The gunman takes the bartender at gunpoint and forces him to drive to the location where he can find his sister. But I liked it in the bar when we were seeing the demons kind of like slowly start to transform a little bit. They're getting ready to fight. It's fun little details. And the bartender makes some comments about how going off the road isn't wise. It looks like a desert, but if you veer off the road, you might never come back. And then the bartender takes the man to a location, which I think is the hotel. And the gunman bashes his face with the butt of his gun for being so mysterious. The bartender tells Danny that it's okay. Danny asks how he knows his name. And the bartender laughs and says, "You're fucked, Danny." He takes him through a door and he asks Danny, "Don't you want to see her?" To which Danny replies, "Yeah." And then they pass some random people in a waiting room as they walk down a hall. And Danny finds Jessie tattooing someone's back, traditional style with a nail in a board. Like literally she's tattooing with a nail in a board. It's crazy. And then Jessie hugs Danny and realizes that his back is hurt. He says it's nothing, and he's clearly so happy to have found her. Jessie asks how he found her, and she says that he looks old. He tells her that she looks great and that he's been looking for her for 13 years. Jessie says that she wants to be here. And Danny says that he's going to take her back. And then he shoots the bartender when he tries to get Danny to leave, saying that Jessie's here by her own choice. The bartender becomes a demon the instant that he's shot, and Danny grabs Jessie and forces her to drive away with him. He eventually makes the choice to drive off of the highway, and Jessie warns him, saying that if he drives off, he's doing this for himself and not for her. He drives off the road anyways, and Jessie continues to explain how she's here by choice, and she deserves to be here. Danny says it's not her fault, that she was just a kid. And Jessie responds that she killed their parents because she wanted to. And she's here now because she wants to. This place found her, and she loves it. And she seems genuine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we see a bunch of naked demons surround the parked car and pull Danny out. And Jessie tells him that he should have listened to her and left, to which Danny replies that he just wanted to save her. Jessie drives away, leaving Danny to the demons. And she gets back on the highway, fiddling with the radio, and she softly smiles to the song on the radio. We pull into a parking lot with Jessie where she covers one eye and then notices a pretty young blonde girl approaching. And she asks what she's looking at. And that ends Jailbreak. Yeah. So what do you think of this segment?
This is the one I said I think has enough chops. It could be like a whole movie on its own, But yeah. I mean, we've kind of discussed it, but just that whole idea that wherever this place is, that it is the right fit for some people. And just like that idea that I think makes us regular people uneasy, just the idea that, some people just would choose to be there. So right. It's just another way to look at this whole idea of hell, that we all see hell through our own lens and what we think it is. And it's not the same for everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because apparently she was a kid when she killed their parents. And so it makes you wonder, was she just an innocent kid and it was an accident or something?
Or she said she did it. Bad people.
Right. Because she said that she did it because she wanted to.
Yeah.
But also, kids do stuff that they want to without understanding the consequences. You know what I mean? So then it makes me wonder, is she actually evil? Or is it just that she feels so bad for doing something so terrible that she feels like she must be evil?
Well, I mean, she definitely, I think she embraces what she did. She owns what she did, but she also knows she deserves to be in hell for it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just her normal. I think some people are just like that.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't think we can understand them. you know?
Yeah,
But I
maybe
think you
she's a
want
crazy
to,
sociopath.
but when we think of a crazy sociopath, we want to think they're crazy, but she just seems so not crazy.
Right.
You know, so level-headed and one of the most normal people we see in this whole movie. So,
Right. And that's what makes me wonder too, like, you know, was she actually evil or is she acting like this now because she's in a place with a lot of other sociopaths, you know, and she actually fits in and feels right.
well, I mean, yes and yes. Like I think yes, she is where she can, if that's who she truly believes she is, well, then she's definitely come to the right place.
Yes.
But I don't think she's not a demon. I don't think like those demons
No.
were. So there's like obviously different there's like the people that like work at hell or like run hell or like are part of hell, and then there's like the people that get sent there, then there's like the people that choose to be there.
Yeah. And when they say that she chose it, it makes me wonder, did she commit suicide? Like she chose to go there? Or is it like that she could um like do something different and become a better person and get out of hell? Like we were kind of talking about, like, can people get out of this? And it's like a purgatory, you know? So it's there's different ways to take that aspect of it too, of
uh,
it being her choice. Is this
uh,
like an inpatient, outpatient thing?
well too, like okay, to go even like now to put it up against Carnival of Souls, if are these people all, have they died, and now that like how did they all die? You know,
Hmm.
like if they're in purgatory, that kind of insinuates, or if you're on a road where you're being tested for hell, it kind of insinuates that you yourself are dead. And that's why these weird dream logic things can be happening. So
Right.
there's even more layers to this if you really want to like think about it. Did all these people commit suicide for the bad things they did? You know,
Mm.
like they're all technically dead, right? But or I don't know, that first story with the Dementors almost seems like they're alive, but if to fit into this movie, they're not. They're going through the same cycle as everyone else. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think there's so many layers that you could
Right.
peel of this onion.
Yeah, maybe they're even just like visiting their own hell, like in the form of nightmares or something. Like maybe they can access this realm when they sleep and it's just like from their guilt
Well,
and
there's the
stuff.
dream where yeah, that dream logic would fit. If are they in a coma or are they asleep? Maybe they're not dead. You know,
Yeah.
are they just somewhere where they're able to like their soul or their consciousness or whatever is just being put through these trials, and that's, you know, but they're still making decisions based on who they truly are inside, and I guess just some people would choose the evil life, you
Right.
know.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. And so this leads into the segment, The Way In. And so that blonde girl that Jesse saw, we now follow her. And she looks like she's probably like 17-ish in age. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, weren't they discussing her getting ready to go to college, right? Like weren't
I
that's what,
think so.
yeah, so about, yeah, that'd be about 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah. And she goes into a restaurant. And I'm pretty sure this is what you were saying, the diner, gas station kind of dealio. And her parents are sitting there. And the family go back to the hotel after dinner to get ready for bed when someone knocks on the door hard. And then the family approaches the door where the father calls out, "Hello?" And nobody answers. And then when the father looks out the front door window, he doesn't see anybody. But then they hear a knock come from the window on the opposite side of, I must have meant to put room here, on the opposite side of the room. And again, the father is looking out and he tells his wife to call the cops in a hurried whisper. And the wife does call the cops, but they say they'll be there in 30 minutes.
And it's the same voice of the cop that was in the hospital story.
Oh,
So
was
it's
it?
yeah, it's so it's got to be the
These demons just
again.
fucking with them. It's
Yeah.
so funny. Sorry. Oh, yes. And then the husband looks out again, and he sees a man in a strange mask about 30 feet away. And then he looks away for 1 second. When he looks back, the man is suddenly as close to the window as possible.
And those
The dad,
masks were creepy, I
they
thought.
were
Super creepy.
Yes. And the dad tries to lead his wife and his daughter out to their vehicle so that they can drive away. But then another man in a different strange mask appears as well. The dad screams, "What do you want?" But he doesn't get a reply. The family go back into their hotel room that's now a house, probably their house, I'm assuming. All of a sudden, it's not a hotel room. And while the two men try to break in through the back door that the family just re-entered through, a third man does break in on the opposite side of the house through the front door with another new creepy mask. And then the daughter goes and she hides in a wardrobe while the couple end up hiding together behind an office desk. The couple get found, chased, and eventually tied up and hit by the mysterious masked men. He asks them what he wants before suddenly realizing who they must be, and he starts apologizing, saying he'll make it right. What can he do? His wife asks him what he's talking about. And then she says, "You told me." And then one of the men whispers something into her ear that makes her cry before they soon shove a cloth soaked in something lethal into her mouth. The husband cries and begs for them to stop, but she soon falls over dead. Then the daughter, the daughter has rigged up something in the car to make the horn honk, and she turns on the car lights. And then one of the masked men go to investigate, and the daughter appears from behind him with a bat, and she hits him over the back of the head. She's like very scrappy.
Yeah.
She's like the most capable of the family for some
Yes.
reason. The other two men come outside, and the daughter asks what they want from them. One of the men tells her to go a couple of times before she obliges and runs off onto the highway. When they re-enter the room, the dad thanks them for letting her go. One of the men holds up a picture of another young blonde girl before stabbing the dad in the stomach. And this is a picture of Catherine
Yep.
that we saw in the first segment. Two of the men take off their masks, and we see that it's Mitch and Jack. And when they leave to carry their injured friend, who's still masked outside, the daughter suddenly reappears and hits them from behind with the bat. They chase her inside where she wields a knife, and Jack yells that they let her go. Like, "We let you go. Why'd you come back?" And then Jack chokes her, but she reaches for a corkscrew and she stabs him. And then he falls to the ground, and she goes to run out and runs past her dead parents, which is sad. You can see her kind of freaked out, but like just doing what she's got to. And right before she's about to exit, Mitch surprise attacks her and stabs her as well. And then she soon dies. Their injured friend sits outside waiting for them in his mask. And he sees out of the corner of his eye the earth begin to break open, being pulled open by strange skeletal tendrils. The skeletal creatures begin to emerge from inside the dead girl, turning her guts inside out. And Jack and Mitch run outside and grab their friend, but his foot is suddenly grabbed by one of the skeletal tendrils coming up from the earth, and they pull him down into the grate below. Jack and Mitch run away, dodging some of these skeleton ghostly figures and the openings in the earth until they reach their truck and they drive off. They talk about their third friend, Shane, who's apparently an asshole. And they soon get stopped by one of these skeletal floating figures and wonder what it is before they avoid it and get back on the highway. When suddenly we're transported back to the beginning of the movie with Jack telling Mitch, "Let's go home." And so that ends this segment as well as the movie as a whole. This one is very heavy.
Yes, and I think here you're seeing Mitch make the wrong, he stabs the girl. Mm-hmm. And I think so, if what we were saying, I mean, he did let her go. He was on the right track, but he did kill the dad who killed his daughter. So was he already doomed? Is that how he ended up in hell in the first place? Or are you allowed
because he ended up killing an innocent?
Yeah. Was that where he went? Yeah. I mean, he kills a couple people here, so I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he's continuing to make the wrong decisions, thus this whole cycle is starting all over again if we think that that's what's really going on.
Yeah.
I loved
And it
the
makes sense
teenage girl.
too.
I wanted her to like run. I wanted her to get out of there.
Yeah. You could tell obviously she has nothing to do with any of
Yeah.
this. Sins of the father.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that when Mitch was telling Jack, like, I don't expect you to stay here, but I'm not running. It's because he killed the daughter,
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a bummer. Yeah. So you think that the dad of the teenage girl, you think he killed Catherine? Do you think there was more to it? We didn't get any more details really, right? Just like him holding up the photo and the dad, like apologizing and asking what he can do to make it right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's all we get, but that's enough for me to I think he's a molester and a child killer. And I think because they whisper to the wife what he did right before they kill her. And you can
Yeah.
just see the absolute horror on her face. Because we didn't really talk about it much, but this family is portrayed for the couple minutes before the cell starts going down as like the most idyllic, happy family. Like this is the way that the dad is with the teenage daughter. Like you do not see this coming the first time you see the movie.
Mm.
It's so you're like, okay, so obviously this is all going to tie in somehow, but I don't know. My mind just didn't go there. They just seemed like I remember the first time I watched this, I thought maybe the parents, because they were talking about like kind of it's time to tell her, um, it's time. I thought maybe like they were like a vampire family or something, and they were going to turn, and the daughter was going to find out that she's some kind of like I don't know. I just thought maybe that's the way the story was going to go the first time that I saw
Mm.
it, but because it was just seemed too perfect and too idyllic, and they were
Yeah.
obviously preparing their daughter for something, but we don't quite find out what it was. But where it ends up going anyway, just the fact that the way that family was portrayed, you just do not see this coming, yet you find out this dad is like the worst of the worst. And I guess in you know they told him that they killed his wife so that he would have to watch them kill someone that he loved because
Mm.
I think as payback from, hey, you killed my daughter, so now we want you to watch us kill someone that you love. So I think, yeah, we don't ever get like that verbal confirmation, but I, I think enough of the story, you're able to kind of glean from what's going on and what is said that that's what this dad did was he's the one that killed the daughter from the very first segment
Yeah.
of the movie. So
I wonder too, because, right before they put the gag in the wife's mouth, she's like, but I thought you told me. And so I was wondering, like, did she know anything about what happened? Or was it because, like, he was getting questioned by police or something and he just had to come up with, like, oh, no, I don't know. We
something
passed
because
each other in a grocery store once or
yeah,
something.
he was free, right? So he never got convicted of anything. So they were trying to
Yeah.
do vigilante justice on him. So I think she was probably trying to allude, like, I thought you said that, this never happened. I think she was going to say
Yeah.
something like, I thought you said you had nothing to do with this, or, something like that. So,
Right. That's what I got from it too. So. Yeah, I really like that all of these stories give you enough to kind of like put together what you want, like whatever you take away from it, but
mm-hmm.
never enough to like really get the full picture. I think it's really cool the way that it
Yeah,
does that.
I
And
agree.
sometimes that sucks. Sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, okay, that felt like a huge waste of time. But
Well, the one I was the Primbon that I was telling you about in like the Fright Bite, that's how I felt about that one. Like, I need some kind of an explanation here, like I can't
mhm,
understand this movie. I can't engage with it. This, I don't know. I was okay. Um, I just love the whole structure of this. I like when the anthologies kind of weave in and out of each other, like this
yeah.
one does.
Yeah, this one does it like perfectly.
Yeah.
I always feel like anthologies are much more successful when they're able to do this, or when the wraparound actually makes sense and works. And the way that they all kind of like intersect with one another is just like perfect.
I 100% agree.
So you're going to
Yeah.
laugh at me
Okay.
because one of the pieces of trivia that I put is that the movie Carnival of Souls can be
Oh.
seen playing early. And so I think what happened is, like, while I was watching the movie and taking my notes, I was like, oh, that must be Night of the Living Dead, because that's like in every movie. And then I looked up trivia later, and then I didn't remember that I had typed that. So,
Oh, yeah.
wow.
I'm glad we've
Embarrassing.
already covered Carnival of Souls though, because you can see how the two movies relate to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Totally. And in the hospital scenes in the accident were filmed in a non-functional wing of a working hospital. So that's pretty cool. And the only other thing I put is that there's a gig poster for the band from the Siren segment. Their band was called the White Tights, and it's
oh,
visible. It's visible at the bar in the jailbreak segment.
oh, that's so cool. I'll have to
That's just
watch for it next time I watch this movie.
yes. So that's just a
Mhm.
little fun extra. So Tammy, do you want to give us your rating and then rate your segments in order since you did
Yep,
that for me?
sure. So I'm going to go with and this is an anthology rating, okay? So I'm going to go with a 9.5 out of 10. This was my pick, and this to me is just one of the best anthologies there is, and I love anthologies. So, and I've been talking this whole time about why I think it's so great. So the order that I would put them in are The Way In is my favorite, followed by Siren, and then I put Jailbreak and The Way Out. I couldn't put one over the other. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
tied them. And then The Accident would be my least favorite, but still, I love it. You know, if you're
Nice.
forcing me to put them in order, that's how I would put them. But it's still a great segment. So how about you?
Yeah, you know what's funny? I think after talking about these, I'm actually gonna change my order a little
Oh, all
bit.
right.
Um, because I just ended up getting a lot more out of Jailbreak than I thought I would after we kind of talked about it more. But my rating's a 8.5 out of 10. And that's not an anthology rating, that's just a regular rating. I
Yeah.
think if I was thinking of it in those terms, I'd probably give it a 9 at least. Because I do really like it. And if you're sitting there comparing anthologies in your head, you know, I think it's one of the stronger ones, like all around. It's like, you know, there's no duds. And that goes a long way, I think, when it comes to
Yes. Yes.
anthologies. And so I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. And in order, I would go The Accident first. That one just like really got to me for some
Yeah.
reason. And then The Way Out, and then The Way In, and then Jailbreak, and then Siren. But I like all of them. I think it's
You're
just like
right.
after we kind of talked about it, I think Siren's just kind of the most confusing to me, where I didn't with the other ones I can kind of logic like, yeah, I can see why they would be in hell. But with that one, I'm really like, I don't understand why Sadie's in hell.
I agree. It's my second favorite, but I can't answer any of those questions. It's just I just like the three girls being friends. I love the girl band. I love
Hmm.
the aesthetic of the mid-century house, and just like
Yeah.
I like that idea that there's these families living, like there's whole families that are in hell, and they're
Right.
working hard to stay there by doing these rituals and participating in recruiting and all this other stuff. So
Yeah.
um yeah, that's just the one that you know I loved, but it's a little more it's sad what happened to her friend, but this one it's just a little
Mhm.
more lighthearted than like The Way In is so heavy, followed by The
Yeah.
Way Out, and oh my God, Jailbreak, it's so heavy. And I think this one, it was just a little more light, still heavy. They're still in
Right.
hell, but it was just a little more like, oh, I can relax during this one a little bit, you know?
Totally. Yeah, and I wonder what was going on with those twin brothers that were adopted due to sad circumstances. I wonder if like I
I
feel like
think
maybe
they're
I
like
missed
friends.
a
No, I think they're what. I bet their parents were taken and eaten, or because I'm guessing that slab of meat, we never find out what that slab of meat is, but I'm guessing those boys got recruited after their parents it's like same way as the two friends they're now part of this family, right? Or they're going to stay there, or they seem to just like, oh, we have our little jammies on and we're going to sleep, and now we're going to participate in this devil worshiping. So I assumed that the boys, probably their parents were, whatever happens, whatever their plans were for Sadie, they got caught in the bear trap or whatever, and then the boys might have been really young or something like that. They've been raising them all these years. I don't know,
God.
but yeah.
Yeah. How fun. Well, yeah. So that was Southbound. I'm really glad that you picked it, and I'm glad that we covered an anthology on here. I think something that's really cool about our podcast is that we just kind of like jump all over the place and cover all these different things. And it's so fun. And for me, it keeps it really fresh. So thank you, Tammy.
Well, yeah, I just love that we aren't afraid of any movies. Like we did freaking Hagazusa. You know what I mean? Like that we will just, you and I think are really good about bringing stuff that you just, like, look, this is what, 13 years old? No, 10 years old, 9 years old. Sorry, I have medicine brain right now. 9 years old. And I'm finally getting to talk about it.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about this, but I think it's good enough, and I'm sure plenty of people have thoughts on it. So yeah, yay us.
Yay. There you go. Pat yourself on the back. All right. So our last little bit of whatever to do now is just to get into our monstrous mention. So on tonight's episode, our monstrous mention is Belial Cabal, which is a collaborative art collection, or collective rather, between a husband and a wife duo, Stephen and Miranda. One is an illustrator and one is a printmaker. They live in the foothills of California's Sierra Nevada mountains. And from the very beginning of their relationship, they spent most of their free time creating art together. So it didn't take long for them to realize that they had a mutual, beneficial, and interdependent skill set. Thus, in 2011, they started their collective. And Belial Cabal apparently means secret art collective. So, equally intrigued by all things metal and macabre, they have found a plethora of inspiration among the dark arts and the occult. And their aim is to provide uniquely macabre creations fueled by music, fine arts, literature, and all things esoteric. Their Instagram is at Belial Cabal, which is BLIALCABAL. And their website is belialcabal.com. And I'll include all of this in the show notes, of course. But this art duo, they sell all kinds of awesome stuff on their website, from art prints to clothing with their designs, to altar linens for your altar, perfumes, upcycled vintage clothing, woven blankets. It's just like, they're just like a creative powerhouse. And I want to buy everything on their website.
Holy cow. Plus relationship goals, for real.
Seriously. And then Stephen is also a tattoo artist, and you can follow his tattoo page on Instagram. Just look for @old.masters.inc. So we salute you, Stephen and Miranda of Belial Cabal, and keep making dope, spooky art.
Yes.
Seriously, though, I've been following their stuff for a long time. I didn't even know it was like a husband-wife duo thing. I was just like, oh my God, cool. They're always making cool stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, very dark and spooky and occult. And with that being said, we're going to get into our outro here.
All right. It looks like that's me. All right.
It is.
So that's going to do it for this episode of Horror Through Her Eyes. Next time we will be reviewing Jessica's pick, All About Evil. I know nothing about this. From 2014 US release, which is currently streaming on Shudder. So yay!
Yes.
Yes. Please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Join our Horror Through Her Eyes Facebook group page. Email us at horrorthroughhereyes@yahoo.com. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at Horror Through Her Eyes Pod with an underscore in between each. Follow us on TikTok at TikTok and Horror Through Her Eyes Pod. Follow us on Letterboxd at Horror Her Eyes, and follow our YouTube channel at Horror Through Her Eyes Pod. As we bid you farewell, we hope you enjoyed your time with us on Horror Through Her Eyes. It's been a blast diving into the depths of dread with you. And until next time, remember to live deliciously.
Yay! We did it! You didn't die.
I didn't